Namaste. Sattva Purusho 요라띠아는 따 삼길 너 요가허 삼길 너 요허 사트바 puruso 요라띠아는 따 삼길 너 요허 브라티아야 비셰쇼 보가허 I'm doing this word 바랄타 드스발타 사미야마 드푸루셔지냐 나무 There's number one 타트바 드스발타 바랄 타트바 드스발타 사미야마 드푸루셔지냐 나무 무드티 사트밤 브라키야 시람 사마나 사트보파니반단 사마나 사트보파니반은 타네 라자스 타마시 바시 그리티야 사트바 puruso 니야타 브라티아야나 파리노타무 타스마 그자 사트바 드파리노 사트바 드파리노 미노티아는 타비탈마 비슈드토니아 셰체티 비슈토니아스 비슈드토니아 셰체티마 비슈드토니아 셰체티마 드라루바허 puruso허 따요라띠아는 따 삼길 너요허 브라티아야 비셰쇼 보가허 purushasya 다시타 비쇼야트바트 사 보가 브라티아야허 사트바시야 pu라 바랄 타트바드들이 I'm just gonna double check here. Pretty sure that's a double D, but the style is I'm not used to the style. Sorry, I got a new computer, so everything is reset. Page 255 of this book. Okay, so Bharatyaya. Paralta Sattavasya. Paralta, they actually divided the word into two. So yeah, it's a double D. So it's this word here. Paralta Drishayaha. Paralta Drishayaha. Yasatu Tasmad Bishishita. Tasmad Bishishita Shechitama Trarupo. Tasmad Bishishita. Tasmad Bishishita Shechitama Traru. Tasmad Bishishita Chitama Traru Ponyaha. Paurushueyaha. Pratya Yasatatra. Samyama te purusha vishaya prajinya jayate na ja purusha pratyayana buddhati sattva tamana purusho trishyate purusha eva tam pratyayam svatma balam banam pashyati Tata Hyukutamu Vijiñātāramare Kena Vijaniyat Iti. So that was 35. Now the English. Oof. Okay, sorry, I have to find it. So in this English translation, Sutra 35 is 34 because this version combined two sutras into one. It's like 19 and 20 or something. Okay. The intellective essence and the Purusha are extremely different. The inseparable cognition of these two is the experience on account of its existence for another's interest. From the samyama over the self-interest comes the knowledge of the Purusha. The intellective essence shining with illumination becomes changed into the cognition of the distinction between the essence and the Purusha after overpowering the active and the inert energies which are dependent upon the same essence. Further, the Purusha, who is the external form of the conscience itself, is pure and extremely opposite to that changing essence. The inseparable cognition of these two, which are extremely different, is the experience of the Purusha because of the fact that objects are presented to him. This cognition of experience belongs to the essence because the perceivable exists for another's interest. That, however, which is distinguished from this essence and is the external form of the conscience itself is the other cognition pertaining to the Purusha. From the samyama over this cognition, the vision being possessed of the sphere of the Purusha is born. Further, the Purusha is not seen by that Purusha's cognition which is the self-same as the intellectual essence. The Purusha himself sees that cognition to be the support of himself. So it has been said, "Oh, by what is the knower to be known?" In this version, this is it's written by James Houghton Woods. It's been really good to me when I didn't know Sanskrit. And if you don't know Sanskrit, like all these words, they're useful. But if you know if you could read Sanskrit, it becomes a hindrance. Sorry. Let me just double check if I'm still online. Am I lagging? Not that much. This is actually really good because I'm putting a lot of pressure into the computer. I did that accidentally. It won't happen next time. So if there's any lagging, it shouldn't happen next time. Okay, here we go. Experience is a presented idea which fails to distinguish the sattva and the self, which are absolutely uncommingled. Since the sattva exists as object for another, the knowledge of the self arises as the result of constraint upon that which exists for its own sake. The sattva of the thinking substance, with its disposition to brightness, by mastering the rajas and tamas which are equally dependent upon the sattva, enters into a mutation as a result of the presented idea of the difference between the sattva and the self. Therefore the self, of which we can only say that it is intellect, which is others, and which is undefiled, is absolutely contrary in quality, even to the sattva which is mutable. Experience is a presented idea which fails to distinguish these two, which are absolutely uncommingled. Because the self has objects shown to it, this presented idea of experience is an object for sight, since the sattva exists for the sake of another, but as a result of constraint upon that presented idea which is distinguished from this, which is intellect and nothing more, and which is others, and which belongs to the self. That insight whose object is the self arises. The self is not seen by that presented idea of the self, whose essence is the sattva of the thinking substance. It is the self which sees the presented idea which depends upon its own self. For in this sense it has been said, "Wherewith pray could one discern the discerner." And we're now getting to the really good stuff. Even we might even get to the one which describes a miracle that Jesus did, which is walking on water. It's coming up pretty soon. Tatahu Pratipashira Bano Vedana Daishan Pratipa sorry. Pratipashira Bano Vedana Daisha Suva Pratipashira Bano Vedana Daisha Pratipashira Bano Veda Pratipashira Bano Vedana Daisha Suva Dabalta sorry, almost. Pratipashira Bano Vedana Daisha Suva Dabalta Jayanante Pratipatu Sukushim Pratipatu Sukushima Vyapahita Viprakrishito Titanagata Jinyanam Shravano du Vyasa Buddha Shravano du Diabya Divya Shravano du Divya Shabuddha Shravanam Devana du Divya Suparsha Devana du Divya Suparsha Tikamahu Darshan du Divya Rupa Darshan du Divya Rupa Sambitu Subhada du Divya Subhada du Divya Rasa Sambitu Baltato Divya Gananta Vijnana Mityeta Divya Gananta Vijnana sorry. I need nicotine. Divya Gananta Vijnana Mityetani. We just did this word, so number one alternative. Nityam. Divya Gananta Vijnana Vijnana Mityeta Nityam Jayanante. Okay, so 36 is 35 in this version. Therefrom arises the truth born of genius, the higher hearing, the higher touching, the higher seeing, the higher tasting, and the higher smelling. From the truth born of genius comes the knowledge of the subtle, the obstructed, the distant, the past, and the not yet come. From the higher hearing comes the power of hearing, the divine sound. From the higher touching comes the attainment of the divine touch. From the higher seeing comes the understanding of the divine color. From the higher tasting comes the knowledge of the divine taste. And from the higher smelling comes the cognition of the divine smell. So these are positively born. As a result of this, there arise vividness and the organ of hearing and the organ of feeling and the organ of sight and the organ of taste and the organ of smell. As a result of vividness, there arises a knowledge of the subtle or concealed or remote, whether past or future. As a result of the organ of hearing, one hears supernal sounds. As a result of the organ of feeling, one has access to supernal touch. As a result of the organ of sight, one has the consciousness of supernal color. As a result of the organ of taste, one has the consciousness of supernal flavor. As a result of the organ of smell, one has a knowledge of supernal fragrance. These unceasingly arise. No, it's 37. Te samatha pupasalga vyutatane siddhatayahu te pratipadayahu samahita citta sioptu padiyamana Samahitachitasyote. It's when I'm being interrupted, it's hard for me to pronounce it, but I must push through because I have no choice. Samahitachitasyo. Samahitachitasyote padiyamana. Upasalga. Upasalga 다들 달샤나. Upasalga 다들 달샤나 pratyani katvat. Beautititasyota padiyamana siddhaya. Okay. So that was 37, and this is 36, but it's 37, trust me. They are the obstacles to the spiritual absorption and are the accomplishments of the exhibitive mind. They, that is, the truth born of genius, etc., when produced of a spiritually absorbed mind, become the obstacles on account of their opposition to the observation. When they are produced of an exhibitive mind, they become the accomplishments. In concentration, these are obstacles. In the emergent state, they are perfections. These, the vividness and so forth, arising in the yogin whose mind stuff is concentrated, are obstacles, in that they go counter to the sight which belongs to this. Arising whose mind stuff is emergent, they are perfections. So I guess it means superpowers are an obstacles to a person who's liberated. 많은 타카라노 샤이틸리야 드브라차라 삼베다나 끝. 많은 타카라노 샤이틸리야 드브라차라 삼베다나 끝자. 지트타시야 Parasharira Veshaha. Parasharira Veshaha. I just want to make sure I read that right. 38. Yeah. So, by the way, these are the sutras, the large letters, and the explanation is not the explanation, it's comments. This is written by Vyasa 5,000 years ago, and Vyasa wrote Bhagavad Gita, and also wrote, the Mahabharata. He wrote lots of stuff. He's like, if you know yoga or Hinduism or any Hindu literature, Vyasa, his name actually means the compiler. He actually was the compiler. It was like a computer program in a human form. That was 5,000 years ago, and you have to read it, because otherwise you can't understand. You will not get the sutra by itself. The sutra itself was written at least 10,000 years ago, and humans are very different now than 10,000 years ago. Like for example, they didn't need to speak much. Loli pudasya manasopura tishtasya sharire kalma shaya basha deban kalma shaya basha debanantahu pratishtuatyaltahu tasya kalmano banantakaranasia shaitiliam samatibala de pavati. Parachara sambedanam cha chittasya samatijamena samatijameba kalma banantakushoya desvat chittasya kalma banantaya Kalmabanan takushoya tsubachititasya Prachara Sambedana Gacha Yogi Chititam Svasharira는 Nishikrishu Sharira는 Tareshu Nikushuipati Nikushuiputam Chititam Janandraya Nuyo Janandriya Nuyo Nu Patananti Yatha Matukararajanam Makushika Uttapatanantama Uttapatanantamanu Uttapatanantamanu Uttapatananti Divishama Namanu Divishanante Ratenandriya Nui Parasharira Beshe Chiditamanu Viti Yanata Iti. That was 38. And in this version it's 37. That looks like a 6 is a 7 in Sanskrit or Hindi. From the relaxation of the cause of bondage, and by the perfect knowledge of the movement of the mind entering into another body, the confinement of the fickle mind, which is ever restless in a body in obedience to the vehicle of action, is its settlement. This is the meaning. The relaxation of that action, which is the cause of bondage, comes from the force of the spiritual absorption. Also, the perfect knowledge of the movement of the mind is born of the spiritual absorption alone. From the destruction of the bondage of action and from the perfect knowledge of the movement of his own mind, the yogi takes out the mind from his own body and then throws it into another body. Then the senses follow the thrown out mind. As the bees fly with the flying king and sit down when he sits, so do the senses follow the mind in entering into another body. As a result of slackening the causes of bondage, and as a result of the consciousness of the procedure, the mind stuff penetrates into the body of another. By virtue of the latent deposit of karma in the body, the central organ which is changeable and unstable becomes established. This is bondage. By virtue of concentration, there is a slackening of this karma, which is the cause of bondage. And the consciousness of the procedure comes only from concentration. As a result of the dwindling of the bondage of karma, and as a result of the consciousness of the procedure of his mind stuff, the yogin, by withdrawing mind stuff from his own body, deposits it in other bodies. The organs also fly after the mind stuff thus deposited. Just as, for instance, when the king bee flies up, the bees fly up after him. So the organs follow after the mind stuff in its penetration into the body of another. Okay, so now we're gonna read this sutra, which includes what Jesus, his real Hebrew name is Yahusha. What Yahusha did, in the Bible, the New Testament, he walked on water, and this describes how to do it. But this is book 3, Sutra 39. So you must master 1 and 2, book 1 and book 2. I'm gonna get to it. I'm gonna do this over and over and over. It takes me about a month to do the whole book, I think. Yeah. And I'm gonna do that over and over and over until I heal. I wouldn't say I'm not healthy, but yeah, I'm not gonna say that here, but I'm not well. Yeah. Udana jaya jijala panganga kanundaka di shiva sanganga. Udana Jaya Jijala Panganka Kanunto. Udana Jaya Jijala Panganka. Udana Jaya Jijala Panganka Kanunto Ka Dishivak Sanganga. But yeah, this has really helped me. Otherwise, I would say I would be dead. So this is, now I'm televising what I'm doing, because before it wasn't really good at all. I've improved up to this point, and it took me a long time. Udana Jaya Jijala Panganka Kanuntoka. Udana Jaya Jijala Panganka Kanuntoka Dishivakas. Udana Jaya Jijala Pang. Sorry. I need nicotine break. Yeah, if anybody's visited my IMDb page, that was what I did before something happened to me. I should have been dead, but I'm still alive. Thank you. Udana Jaya Jijala Panganka Kanuntoka Dishiva Sanganga. Udukan Udukrana Dishicha. Samasa tenendri abrittitiha prana dilakushono jivanam tasya kriya panchatayi prano mukhana sika gatira hridaya brittitiha samam nayana tasamana shichana piprit Nayana Tasama Nashachana Pipritatiha. Apanayana Dapana Apadatala Pritatiha. Ununayana Dudana Shirovrititiha. Pyana Iti Eshwam Pratanam. There's number 1. Pratanaha Pranoha Udana Jaya Jijala Panganka Kanuntoka Dishiva Sanganga. Udukrana Tishicha Prayano Kale Pavati Tam Pashituvena Pratipadyate. Whatever's up there is being relentless now. I'm gonna keep my cool as much as I can. I have no choice. Okay. From the conquest of the Udana, non-contact with water, mud, thorn, etc., and attention. The function of all the senses, as indicated by the movement of the prana, etc., is life. It has 5-fold action. The prana is the operation which, rising from the chest, moves through the mouth and the nose. The samana is the operation which moves down the navel sphere on account of its equal conveyance. The apana is the operation moving down to the soles of the feet on account of its removing action. The udana is the operation moving up to the head on account of its upward conveyance, and the vyana pervades the whole body. The prana is the chief of them. From the conquest of the udana, non-contact with water, mud, thorn, etc. appears, and also ascension comes at the time of death. These are achieved by the mastery over the udana. Sorry, so it's not this one. It's coming up, the walking on water thing. I'm not lying to you. I just got it. I thought it was that sutra. This is my fourth time reading the Sanskrit. By the time I read the whole book, the 4 books, 18 times at least, I should be really fluent in Sanskrit in this book. Okay. As a result of subjugating the udana, there is no adhesion to water or mud or thorns or similar objects in the upward flight. The fluctuation of the whole complex of organs, which is distinguished by having the different vital forces, is vitality. Its activity is fivefold. Prana has its course through the mouth and nose, and its fluctuation extends as far as the heart. And samana, since it distributes equally, has its fluctuation from the navel. Apana, since it leads down, has its fluctuation as far as the sole of the foot. Udana, since it leads up, has its fluctuation as far as the head. Vyana is pervading. Among these, prana is predominant. As a result of subjugating the udana, there is no adhesion to water or mud or thorns or similar objects. And at the time of decease, there is the upward flight. This he attains by mastery. Samana jaya jibala namu. Samana jaya jibala namu. Samana jaya jibala namu. Jita samana sutejasa. Upatmanam kritva jivalayati. From the conquest of the samana comes effulgence. The conqueror of the samana blows upon his splendor and thus shines. As a result of subjugating the samana of radiance, the yogin who has subjugated the samana by causing a pulsation of the flames becomes radiant. Okay. Let me see what that water thing is. I'm walking on water. There you go. Okay, so 42. It's supposed to be my favorite number. 42. 2 more and then we get to Yahusha, also known as Jesus, his miracle. Stick around, or you could come back in like 5 minutes, I think. Shrotra ka shayoh sambanan ta samyama de divyam sambanan ta samyama de divyam shrotramu Saiva shrotrano makasham pratishita Saiva shabudanam. Oh, I forgot the 3. Pratishta Sha Shabudanam Saiva shabudanam Ja Yatokutama Tulya desha shravano nam eka desha shuru titivam Tulya desha shravano nam eka desha shuru titivam Tulya desha shravano nam eka desha shuru titivam Salveshum bhavati iti Takuchaitada ka shasya lingangamu Anabaranam Jogutamu Tatamultasyana Barano Vaishana Devi Putuvamapi Tatamultasyana Barano Daishana Devi Putuvamati Pamapi. To vape nicotine or not to vape? I'll try a couple more. If it doesn't work, I'm gonna use nicotine. Tata multasyana varano daishana dviput pamapi almost. Tata multasyana varano Tata multasyana varano daishana dviput pamapi. Prakhyatamaka shasya Shabudagrahano numitam Shurotram Bhattira Bhattirayo Bhattira Bhattirayo Bhattira Bhattirayo Rekaho Shabudam Grihuna Titiya Grihuna Titiya Paro Na Grihuna Titi Tasama Kuchurotrameva Shabuda Vishoyamu Shurotra Ka Shayoho Sambanante Grita Samyamasya Yogino Divyam Shrotram Prabhaitate. Okay, so 41 we just read. And it says 40, but it's supposed to be 41, trust me. From the samyama upon the relation between the sense of hearing and the ether, the divine power of hearing. The ether is the foundation of all the senses of hearing, and also of all sounds. As it is said, of all persons whose senses of hearing are placed in the same space, the action of hearing becomes similar. Further, this is the mark of the ether, and it is said to be coverless. Similarly, omnipresence of the ether has also been affirmed, because coverlessness even of a formless object is seen elsewhere. The sense of hearing is the instrument of receiving the sound. Between the deaf and the not deaf, one receives the sound and the other does not. Therefore, the sense of hearing alone is possessed of the sphere of sound. In the yogi who performs samyama upon the relation between the sense of hearing and the ether, the divine power of hearing arises. As a result of constraint upon the relation between the organ of hearing and the air, the supernal organ of hearing. For all organs of hearing, the air is the basis, and for all sounds. In which sense it has been said, all those whose processes of hearing are in the same place have the same kind of hearing. And this is declared to be the characteristic mark of air. And the second is that it is not covered. Thus, because a thing which is not limited in extent is evidently not covered, it is also recognized that air is pervasive. From the perception of sounds, it is inferred that the organ of hearing exists. For in the case of a deaf man and of a man not deaf, the one perceives sound and the other not. Hence it is the organ of hearing only which is the field of operation for sound. For the yogin who has performed constraint upon the relation between the organ of hearing and the air, the supernal ear begins. Alright, now the really fun stuff. Let me see how much more fun stuff are there. Yeah, this book is actually called Supernormal Powers or Superpower. Here we go. Gaya ga shayoho sambanan tasamiya malula marula ku. This is ku. Just double checking. Ku. Wow. Okay. Dula sama patidishya ga shagamanama sambanan tasamiya malula ku marula ku dula sambanan tasamiya malula sambanan tasamiya malula ku sambanan tasamiya malula. I need nicotine. Sorry. 삼바는 타사미야마를라 쿠 삼바는 타사미야마를라 Sambanan tasamiyama la kutu la sama patatashija. Shakamanama. Sambanan tasamiyama la Sambanan tasamiyama la ku. Sambanan tasamiyama la kutu la sama patate. Sambanan tasamiyama la kutu. Sambanan tasamiyama la kutu la sama patateshija ga shakamanama. Yatra ga yasatatra ga sham tasya baka shadana teka yasya dena sambanan tahu. There's the alternative, number 1. Sambanan tabapati. Sambanan tata. Okay, so I'll just start from here. Sambanan tabapati. Oh, wow. It combines these two. Sambanan ta. Sambanan ta. Sambanan tabapati. Tertia. Tertia. Wait, that's not it. Okay, sorry. Disatatra. Disatatra. Okay, I can't do that. Sambanan tava patisatatra. Sambanan ta. One more. Sambanan tava patisatatra. Yeah, I have a hard time when they separate. When they have an alternative and they don't put the whole word down, they just put this is part of the whole word, which there's supposed to be something there. There's like 3-4 syllables there. Panapatisatatra karita samyamo jitva tatasambanantam lakushu ba Dula Dishiva Paramanupyaho. Number 2. Oh, sorry, I have to do number 1 over again. They have like 3 different versions of that number 1. I'm gonna make sure I don't miss it. The good thing about Sanskrit is like once you say it, it's kind of like ingrained. So you just say it once and leave. Sorry, I'm being interrupted on all sides. That's what happens when you're trying to get superpowers, I guess. I'm trying to survive. That's what I'm doing. Okay, so going back to number 1. Bananto Vyapati. Bananto Sambananto Vyapatisatatra. And there's a third version of number. So there are 4 versions of that word or 2 words combined. Sambananta, sambananta, prapatisitatara. Okay. Grita samyamo jitva tatasambanantam makushu ba dula dishiva paramanupyaho. Number 2. Make sure number 2 doesn't have another version of number 2. Nu sa. So it subtracts this word and combines these 2 words together. So I'm just gonna put that there so I know where to go. Paramanu sama patatim. Paramanu sama patatim. Yeah, you can't overread Sanskrit. You just read it once. If you overdo it, it's gonna get you later. You're gonna mess up with a simple word. Because I believe Sanskrit is a living language and has been spoken the right way for a really long time. And it took me a long time to figure out how to say these words. These are all, Sanskrit is a visual language. The word actually sounds, looks like how it sounds. So once you figure it out, it gets easier. Sama patatim labatava. Jitta sambanan to. Lakul. And this could be a power ma. It's a little fuzzy there. Lakul pavati. It's supposed to be a pa, I think. Why doesn't it have that? Yeah, there are many different, not many, at least a few different versions of the sutras, comments of the sutra, because such an old book that it has changed over time. So let me just go over here. Let me double check. So this one doesn't even have. Am I in the right? Yeah, I'm there. Yeah, it just ends there. It doesn't have the rest of the words. That's why I don't read. This is the easiest to read, but I don't rely on it. It's the most modern version, I think. So I have 4 versions. Right? It kind of ensures me I'm kind of reading, the right thing. Let me check out which page. It's like 460. Okay. Sorry if it's hard to follow right now. Once I get through the whole book this time, the next time it'll be easier. It's a thing about Sanskrit. So it's Lakupavati. Lakulpavati. So I read it right. We're just gonna go with that. I'm not gonna read that the modern version just because. Rakutva gaja jale pada pyam viharati tatasutu nanapi tananu matra tatasutu nanapi tananu tatasutu nanapi tananu matre tanuntu tatasutu nanapi tanuntu matre Vihuritia Rashimishu. Just want to make sure it's the Rashimi. Yeah. Viharati Tato Yateshitama Ka Shagati Rasya Pavati Iti. Okay. So this is Yahusha, whose name is Jesus, did, and we just read 42, and in this book it's 41. So this is like a really good sutra for those who are Christians. I'm not a Christian, I'm a Kabbalist. Okay. From the samyama upon the relation between the body and the ether, and from the attainment of the lightness of cotton, comes the passage through the sky. Where there is a body, there is the ether, because it gives space to the body. The relation is obtained thereby, After conquering that relation by the performance of samyama thereupon, and by obtaining the transformation into light things, such as cotton, etc., down to an atom, the conqueror of the relation becomes light. On account of that lightness, he walks over water. Then walking on each line of the spider's web, walks over the rays. Then he moves through the sky at will. So he flies, I guess. Superman. Either as the result of constraint upon the relation between the body and the air, or as the result of the balanced state of lightness, such as that of the cotton fiber, there follows the passing through air. Wherever there's a body, there is air, because it gives space to the body. The relation with this is that of obtaining. By performing constraint upon this relation, the yogin subjugates the relation with this, and gaining the balanced state of lightness, such as that of the cotton fiber, even to the atoms, he becomes light himself, and by reason of this lightness, he walks with both feet upon water. Next after this, however, he walks upon nothing more than a spider's thread, and then upon sunbeams. Thereafter, he courses through the air at will. Alright, how much more? We're like 3/4 of the book. 43, 44. Yeah, I'll do 44 and call it a day. So 43 and 44, I think. Bahira Kalpita Purititil. This is ma or pa? A little fuzzy there. Ma. Purititil. Brititil maha videha tatahu prakasha paranokushoyahu Sharira de bahil manaso Brititila po videha nama tarano sa yadi Sharira pratishtasya Manaso bahil brittima tereno pavati sa kalpitetiu jate ya tu sharira nirapekushu bahil putasya manaso bahil brittihu sa kalva pita. I'm a Kabbalist, but what Kabbalist means is he's allowed to use all other religions to their advantage. So, if I want to take something from Christianity, I can. That's all I'm gonna say. Tatra kalpitaya sathayanatiya kalpitam. 4. There are a lot of people in this world who believes in Yahusha, that is known as Jesus, in secret. They don't say it to the outside world. They don't trust people. You don't need to say what you believe in. It actually hinders the person himself or herself. Some people are nosy too. Okay. Yatyaka. Yatyaka. I got it. Sathayatyakal pitam mahavideha miti nyaya parasharira nuya vishananti yoginaha tatashicca tarano taho prakashatmano buddhiti sattavasya yada varanam cool. So I could do this. Gleshakai ma pipa vi kaima Gleshakai ma pipa katarayam Gleshakai ma pipa katarayam Rajasitamu mulam Tasya cha Kushoyo Pavati. Okay. The unformed external activity is the great excorporeal, thence the destruction of the covering of the light. The acquisition of mental activity outside the body is indeed the excorporeal steadiness. If it takes place by each external function of the mind, resting in the body, it is called the formed excorporeal. When, however, the external activity of the mind that has come out of the body and the activity itself is not dependent upon the body, it is in fact the unformed excorporeal. There the yogis accomplish the unformed great excorporeal by the help of the formed excorporeal. By this, the yogis enter into other bodies. Further, affliction, action, and the threefold fruition which have their root in the active and the inert energies, and which are the covering of the luminous intellective essence, are destroyed by that steadiness. An outwardly unadjusted fluctuation is the great discarnate. As a result of this, the dwindling of the covering of the brightness. Let me just double check if I'm still online. I think so. Oh, so there were a lot of dropped frames. The thing about Sanskrit is you don't need to read it. You could. Okay. Yeah, you don't need to read it. If you just listen to me just saying the Sanskrit, that suffices. It's a cool thing about Sanskrit. The fluctuation assumed by the central organ outside the body is the fixed attention called discarnate. If it is only an outer fluctuation of the central organ which abides in the body, it is called adjusted. But if it is an outer fluctuation of the central organ which is itself externalized, in that it disregards the body, it is of course called unadjusted. By means of the adjusted, one among these two accomplish the unadjusted great discarnate, by means of which yogins enter the bodies of others. And as a result of this fixed attention, the covering of the sattva of the thinking substance, whose essence is brightness, which has the threefold fruition from the hindrances and the kaima, and whose root is rajas and tamas, dwindles away. Yeah, I'm gonna do one more. It's a long one, but it'll help me, so I have to do it. So, if you're practicing yoga to heal, which is what I'm doing, you on the one hand, you study books pertaining to yoga, and the Yoga Sutra is part of that. Bhagavad Gita is also part of that. And I read Rig Veda because it's like one of the oldest of the Hindu scriptures. It kind of helps me for some reason, so that's why I read it. And then on the other hand, you perform yoga by chanting, which is the Hare Krishna mantra that I'm doing, and the yoga exercise, the Ashtanga yoga. So you have to study and perform yoga, and by these two you become liberated eventually. Depends on the individual, but that's the way, and that's according to the Yoga Sutra. Sutra literally means manual. So Yoga Sutra, yoga manual. That's what it means. Okay, I think I could do it. If I can't do it, I'm gonna do it tomorrow, but I need it. Sutu lasubaru basu kushimanu. It's a little fuzzy there. Yeah. Sutu lasubaru basu kushimanu bayal tabatasa batubasamiya madu puta jayahu madu puta. Sutu lasubaru basu kushimanu bayal tabasat batasa batuba batuba batutuba batutuba. Really, batutuba? There's double T. Batutuba batutuba. Wow. Okay, I almost missed that. Batutuba batutuba. Sutu lasubaru basu kushimanu bayal tabatutuba samiyama dupu tajayahu. Tatra Patiba Diyahu Shabdadayo Visheshuhu Sahakara Dipiltalmaihu Sahakara Dipiltalmaihu Sutula Shabdana Paripashritahu Etadaputanam Pratamam Rupam Dvidiyam Rupam Svasamaniam Multilpumiho Sneho. I'm pretty sure that's an N. Sneho, yeah. Jalam Bahaniru Shunota. That looks like an N. Yeah, cool. 2 more pages and then 3 more pages and then done with that sutra. It's a long one. Vayuhu Pranami Saivattogatira Kasha Ityatatsuvaru Pashabudeno Ityatatsuvaru Pashabudeno Jyate Asya Samanyasya Shabudadayo Visheshuhu Tata Jokutamu Ekajanti Samanabhitana Meshum Taimama Dravya Vritiriti Samanya Vishesha Samudayottara Dravyam Divishato Hi Samuhaha Pratyasatamita Peda Vayapa Nugataha Shariram Vrikusho Yutam Panamiti. No, we just did 1 page out of the 3. It's 2 more pages. This is a long one. Shabdanopa Tata Peda Vayapa Nugataha Samuha Upaye Devamanushyu Samuhasya Deva Eko Pago Manushyu Dvitiyo Pagasata Pyameva Pitiyata. Pagasata Pyameva Pitiyate Samuhaho Sa Ja Peda Biba Peda Vivakushitahu Amuranam Panam Brahmanonam Samkha. This could be a fuzzy printing, so I'll double check. Sangka is a totally different word. I'll go with this. Amunabanam Brahmano Samkha Iti Sa Bonalde Vivito Yuttasiddha Vayavo Yuttasiddha Vayavo Yuttasiddha Vayabhachacham Yuttasiddha Vayabhaha Samuho Panam Samkha Iti Ayuttasiddha Vayabhaha Samkhataha Shariram Vrikushoha Paramanuriti Ayuttasiddha Vayabhapeda Nugataha Samuho Dravyamiti Patanjaliha Etat Svarupamiti Ukutama Atha Kimesham Sukushimarupam Tanumatram Putakaranam Tasyaiko Vayavaha Paramanuha Samanya Visheshatama Yuttasiddha Vayabhapeda Nugataha Samudaya. The last page. Ityevam Salvatanu Matra Nuyetatu Salvatanu Matra Nuyetanu Tritiyam. Almost. Salvatanu Matra Nuyetatu. I need nicotine, sorry. Yeah, I started putting my hands together like this because it's a living language. The more respect you pay to it, the more it gives you back. That's my opinion. Salvatanu Matra Nuyetatu Tritiyam Atha Bhutanam Chatultam Rupam Khyati Kriya Sthitishi Khyati Kriya Sthiti Khyati Kriya Sthiti Shila Gunaha Karyasvaphavanupati Nonubaya Shabute Nokutaha Karyasvaphavanupati Nonuntam Karyasvaphavanupati Nonubaya Shabute. Almost. Karyasvaphavanupati Nonubaya Shabute Karyasvaphavanupati Nonubaya Shabute Nokut Karyasvaphavanupati Nonubaya Shabute Nokut Karyasvaphavanupati Nonubaya Shabute Nokutaha Ataisham Panchamam Rupamaltat Tattvam No. 루파말타바트밤. Okay. 보가 빠발갈 타다. 구누에 시베바는 바야. 구누에 시베바는 바이니. And there's number 2. Almost there. 누에 시바는 바. 누에 시바는 바. 누에 시바는 바. 누에 시바는 바. 시바는 바. Really? Skips this. 누에 시바는 바지. 누에 구누에 시베는 구누에 시베는 구누에 시바는 구누에 시베는 바이니. 구너스다는 마드라 푸다 파우티케 시바. 구너스다는 마드라 푸. 구너스단 마드라 푸다 파우티케 시비티 게시비티. 구너스다는 마드라 푸다 파우티케 시비티. 살바말타바트. 데시비다님 부데슈 반짜수 반짜루베슈 사미야마 뜨다시야 다시야 루바시야 스바루바달샤남 자야시자 브라둘 파바티. 따뜨라 반짜 부다스바루바누이 지뜨바 부다자이 파바티. The last verse. 다지자야드 바트사누사. 다지자야드 바트사누사리누여. 다지자야드 바트사누사리누여. 이바 가보시야. 삼가르바 누빗. 삼가르바 누비타 이니오. 삼가르바 누비타 이니오. 부다프라크리타요. 파바는띠. 부다프라크리타요. 파바는띠. Okay. There are 55 sutras in book 3. We just did 44, so there's 11 left. Okay. From the samyama upon the gross, the manifestative, the subtle, the correlative, and the purposive, the mastery over the elements. There the specific sound, etc., pertaining to earth, etc., with their mutual helpful characteristics are technically named by the word gross. This is the first appearance of the elements. The second appearance is generic to itself. Earth has hardness, water has stickiness, the fire has heat, the air has motivity, and the ether pervades them all. These are called by the word manifestative. The sound, etc., are the specific appearances of this generic property. So also it has been said. Thus comes the differentiation of the pure characteristic of those that are correlated with one class. Here the collection of the generic and the specific properties is understood as matter. The collection is in fact of two kinds. A person or a tree is followed by the body of the absent disunion, and by the word herd or forest, the collection is followed by the body of the present disunion. In the herd signifying both gods and men, one part of the collection is the gods alone, and the other part is the men. The collection is signified by them both. Further, it is meant to be spoken of either with disunion or without disunion, such as the grove of mangoes, the group of Brahmins, or the mango grove, the Brahmin group. Again, it is of two descriptions, the separable accomplished body and the inseparable accomplished body. The separable accomplished body is the collection such as the forest, a group, and the inseparable accomplished body is the collection such as a person, a tree, an atom. According to the theory of Patanjali, the matter is the collection followed by the inseparable accomplished body. It is said to be the manifestative. Now, what is their subtle of the element's subtle appearance? It is the pure ultimate atom, which is the origin of the elements. Its single body is the atom possessed of the generic and the specific properties, and is the collection followed by the inseparable accomplished body. Thus all the subtle rudiments are of this third appearance. Now the fourth appearance of the elements is called by the word correlative. It is the energies possessed of illumination, activity, and inertia, which follow the nature of their actions. Now their fifth appearance is the purposefulness, which is correlated with the energies possessed of the purpose of experience and emancipation. The energies remain in these subtle rudiments, the elements, and in the elemental products. So all this is purposive. Now from the samyama upon the appearance which exists in these five elements in their five respective appearances, the visibility of the manifestation of those appearances and also the mastery over them appear. There the yogi, after conquering the appearances of the five elements, becomes the master of the elements. On account of that mastery, the elemental powers become subordinate to his will, like the cows following their own calves. As a result of constraint upon the coarse and the essential attribute, and the subtle, and the inherence, and the purposiveness, there is a subjugation of the elements. In this, the beginning with earth have sounds and other perceptible things. The particulars, together with their properties, shape, and the rest, are technically called coarse. This is the first form of the elements. The second form is its generic form. For example, limitation in extent is the form of earth. Liquidity of water, heat of fire, wind mobile, for air goes everywhere. The second form is technically called essential attribute. The generic form has sounds and others as its particulars. And in this sense it has been said, all these that are inseparably connected with one genus Pradicabile are distinguished only by their properties. In this system, a substance is an aggregate of the generic form and of the particular, for a collection is of two kinds: that in which its different component parts have disappeared, as for instance a body, a tree, a herd, a forest, and that collection in which the different component parts are specified by a term, as for instance of both kinds, gods and human beings. One part of the collection is gods, and the second part is human beings. Only by means of these two is it termed a collection. Furthermore, either the distinction or the identity may be emphasized. We may say a grove of mango trees, gathering of Brahmans, or we may say a mango grove, a Brahman gathering. Again, it is twofold: that of which the parts exist separately, and that of which the parts do not exist separately. A grove, a gathering, is a collection from which the parts are separable. A body or a tree or an atom is a whole, of which the parts are not separable. Patanjali says that a substance is a collection, the different component parts of which do not exist separately. Thus it has been explained what the essential attribute is. Now what is the subtle form? It is subtle substance, the cause of the elements. Of one of these, an atom is one part. Its essence is the generic form and the particular, and it is an aggregate consisting of different parts which cannot exist separately. Similarly with all the tanmatras, this is the third. Now the fourth form of the elements. The aspects with disposition to discernment and to activity and to inertia, and conforming to the nature of the effects, are described by the word inherence. Now the fifth form of these, is purposiveness. The having of experience and of release as their purpose is inherent in the aspects, and the aspects are connected with the elements and the products of the elements. Thus all has a purpose. By constraint upon these 5 elements of the present time in their 5 forms, the sight of the essential attribute of this or that form and the subjugation of it come about. By mastering the 5 essential attributes of the elements, masters the elements. He masters the elements. As a result of their subjugation, the evolving causes of the elements follow the commands of his will, just as the cows follow their own calves. Now this is the explanation by Pachasapati forgot his name. Pachasapati Mishra, something like that, which was written 1,000 years ago. Was written around the year 1000. And if you read the Sanskrit, you don't need this. But this explanation written 1,000 years ago by Pachasapati Mishra is useful if you don't know Sanskrit, but it's not. It becomes a hindrance or an obstacle when you read it. Read the Sanskrit. So we've done about 4/5 of the book. So maybe in 2 days I'm gonna be finished with book 2 and book 3. Book 4 is the shortest book, and it's called Isolation or Absoluteness. And once you've established yourself in isolation or absoluteness, you don't need anything in the world, and things still come to you if you need it. But you have no desire for anything, which is cool. Okay, so that's it. I'm still online. Thanks for listening to me. Sometimes I talk too much. Maybe I'll try to talk less. I'm not sure. Depends. But as long as I'm being interrupted, like I have to do what I do. If I don't do it, I might die. Because I'm doing this to survive. Whatever that means to you. So the reason why I'm talking is because I'm being interrupted and my mind is distracted. So talking really helps. It's like being gibberish with words. That's what I'm doing. Okay, thank you very much. Namaste.